welcome to Cube Draft number 2. We are back on Untap for this one. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro is not cooperating, so we're going to do the draft on Untap tonight. Doesn't look quite as good, so sorry about that, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro is doing weird things where it was scrambling up pack orders and just unplayable. Until I figure out what's causing that, we'll have to adapt. So here we go. Alright. Widespread, Dust Shoot, Brain Control, True Nade, all pretty high picks. But this is a pretty easy trap Dust Shoot. Always happy to have these. There's only 2 of them in the cube, so getting 1 is great. Getting 2 is unbelievable. Let's see if maybe we can do it. It's 29 busted cards to go to the perfect deck. Okay, pick 2. Here's a Reasoning. Graceful, of course, which is probably just going to be the pick. It's kind of hard to let that go. No matter what we end up in, we'll be happy to have that, so easy pick. Lot to consider here. Tomato. Yeah, there's just not a lot here. So at this point we can kind of hedge our bets and say what do we want to go into. The safe pick would be Tomato or Mind Control. If we want to try to get into Burn, there's a Chain Energy. If we want Reasoning, there's a Reasoning. If we want Zombies, we've got a Turtle. Exiled, also a pretty safe pick of these 3. Part of me kind of wants to play Reasoning just for fun, but I'm no fun. We've got a great start. Let's not get too crazy. Let's just go a safe route and immediately get punished because here's a Creator and a Monster Gate. All 3 of these monsters are good. Scapegoat's good. I think it's between Scapegoat and Nobleman. And if we're just looking to stay kind of open right now, I think Nobleman's where we want to be. We'll see what table's back around. Okay, this is kind of nuts. I mean, here's card D. We don't know if we're going to get anything to really combo with it. There is a Knight Assailant right here, so I would have to commit and then hope that comes back around. And given some of the other things in this pack, that's probably a bit much to ask for, so I think we're just going to pick up a Saku here. It's always good when you can use these kind of filler picks on your Sakus and widespreads and generic things of that nature that you just want to get, but they're of course going to be contested. Okay, a few things here. We've got a Sura if we want to pick up a light monster kind of preemptively. There's also Jar of Greed, is just hyper flexible. I'm actually looking at this Magic Cylinder though. This feels like it's going to very much just be like an old school attrition beatdown kind of thing. Just play for value, real mid-rangey. And I mean, this can just be a big chunk of burst damage, and sometimes that's enough. We did see a Scapegoat go around, so that kind of makes this Asura a little bit better, but I don't know. I think we can probably get an Asura later on, and there's only 1 cylinder. Okay, not a lot here. I think the choice is between Hysteric Fairy, Ceasefire, maybe Acid Trap Hole. But I think I'm actually just going to take the Ceasefire here. The Hysteric Fairy would actually be nice. It's a great Alta Trio. It's a decent statted light monster, but this just has a lot of application with Cylinder. And I'm still not 100% sure where we're going to end up, so I'm just going to snatch that up for now. Well, the most flexible card here is Book of Moon, but we're just going to take this DDV off the table. We're probably not going to play it, but I just really don't want anybody else to have it. It's really something. So here we have a whole lot of nothing. All of the best stuff's gone. Ironically enough, part of me wants to take this D-Spell, but I think I'm just going to jump on this creature swap. I would rather pick this up now than have to worry about getting it later if we end up trying to do something with Recruiters or Scapegoat. Really shocked to see this here. Don't particularly want any of this. Not particularly afraid of any of it except that, so we're just going to get that out of the way. We're probably not going to play any of that, just in case. Okay, the Knight Assailant came back. Was not expecting that. Let's just go ahead and grab that. Kind of set us up to make all of our Raigeki breaks and such better in the future. Okay, pretty good pack 1. I've definitely seen better, but I've seen much worse as well. Okay, right off the rip here, there's the cannon. We got another knock, a widespread, Nothing really worthy of being a first pick here. Kind of interesting. It's actually not unreasonable for us to think that we might somehow end up being some sort of burn beatdown hybrid. Like, we could take wave motion here, because the only things it's really up against are noblemen and widespread. We could do that, or we can also hope that maybe because this pack isn't very deep, if this hits people in the correct order, someone else might just hate this out anyway, because there may not be anything else here for them. I'm actually going to take the nobleman over the widespread. And the reason I'm deciding that is because we're hoping to end up with some sort of Raigeki break package by the end of it. Well, this meta would be nice, but we don't have any of the really easy outlets for it yet. The Saku would also be nice, but we have to take the tribe. Not that that's a bad thing, it's a great card. Yeah, we're not going to get any good things back out of this. It's too bad. Well, I could take a third nobleman, but I think I'm just going to pick up this Mobius. I really like to try to have at least one of those if I can. Man, these packs are pretty mid. Got a book and a bottomless are okay. Gorilla's a decent beater. Two good light beaters here. I should have just tried to go into warriors. We're gonna take the warrior lady. It's gonna be good for us no matter what. Okay, Solemn, Swords, Spirit Reaper, all good options. Solemn is down to 2 in the cube now compared to the last draft, so I do prioritize it a bit more highly because of that. I think it's going to be pretty good for us, and I'm starting to think we just want to transition to more of a beatdown strategy, even more so than we already are. I think that's just going to be nice to have if that's the case. Okay, so here we could either take another creature swap, which I'm really starting to think just isn't going to pan out for us, or we could pick up this Kaiku and try to start leaning into this beatdown deck, and I think that's where we want to be for this. Here is a Fairy Lily. The only flip it's up against in terms of synergy with Night Assailant is this Mimic. We still don't have any payouts for that. Braincon's nice, but I don't really think it's where we want to be. I don't mind Lily with Solemn. Okay, there's not really anything here I would want to play except for maybe this DD Assailant. There's 2 just insane burn cards in this pack. 3 actually, if you count the Panda. I think this is going to cause us the most problems, especially if we end up in beatdown. So let's just snake that level limit. Pretty rough draft. Now we could go ahead and take this rat, because we have an exiled and we have a Lily that can come out off the rat, and the rat works with swap. If we don't take the rat, what are we taking? Book of Moon, maybe Death Koala? I'd rather have the rat. Okay, not really anything here we want to play, but we're just absolutely going to cack one of those. Okay, so we took burn off of a chain energy, a level limit, and a trio. And a cylinder and ceasefire. Okay. I'm actually feeling pretty good about where we are, even though this looks like a hodgepodge. I'm sitting here kind of going over some of the angles, and I think we have most of it covered. So for this pick, the question is, are there any of these that we think we're likely to play? I could see bringing Chiron in, except we really don't have that many spells. So that's probably out. And I don't think we're going to bring the blowback in, but I think maybe we use this opportunity to just snake a pick from reasoning. Blowback is actually one of their better monsters, so I think we're just going to take that and be happy with it. I don't really like any of this. There is a Lakuta here, though, which is kind of cool with this rat. Let's actually see if I can just get into some sort of like rat box value engine here. Okay, we have a turtle, a level conversion lab, and a divine wrath, and I don't really think we end up playing any of these. Divine Wrath is really the only one we could consider playing. Zombies are probably going to be the worst matchup for this deck. Although, I don't know, I do have that Kaiku. That could be pretty nice. I don't think I'm going to bring Wrath in. I'm just going to use this opportunity to hate draft a turtle. I'm probably not playing either of these. Actually, you know what? I'm going to see if I can get into the XYZ stuff. Because I think we saw the metal tank go around, but I don't think we've seen any of the head cannons yet. Okay, that Book of Life going all the way around is interesting. Oh, come on, dude. Okay, well, all of our first picks from the entire draft are bundled into this one pack. We have Pot, we have the second Night Assailant with not one but two discard outlets, Premature, Rhoda, Sinister Serpent, and then Bottomless, and now we're just getting into the all right cards. So we're obviously going to take Pot of Greed here. If the Pot wasn't here, I would probably take the Premature, just given where the rest of the deck is. Sinister won't come back. These discard traps won't come back. We could hope to get Night Assailant or maybe Bottomless, but I don't know. That's just kind of wishing. But, you know, we'll take a piece of Trinity. It's just unfortunate that it all had to be in one pack, but, you know, it goes that way with a cube sometimes. Okay, so MST, pretty solid. Another Exiled Forest or Torrential. We right now only really have Mobius for backfield removal. I think this Torrential just adds too much value in a deck like this. I'm not normally that big on Torrential, but I think this is the kind of deck where you really want it. This is looking more and more like it's just going to be like a really mid-rangey, try to outvalue them, win some combat, that sort of thing. Okay, not a ton here for us. This Rhoda would be kind of cool. Only got 2 targets right now, but I'm optimistic that we might find something else. Oh man, there's the other trio. I could just end Burns' life right now. If I take the trio, I'm not getting anything good back. I think the safe pick is probably Dust, but since we don't have any other backfield disruption other than Mobius, and because this pairs so well with Mobius, I think I'm actually going to take this Zing. We only have one of them in the cube right now, and I kind of want to just try it out and see what I think. So here's a spy, and it's pretty crazy that we haven't seen any other spies up until this point, which tells me one of two things. They're either all clustered in these packs, and we'll have a shot at one or two later on, or someone jumped all over them sooner than normal, so this one is never going to find a mate. We don't have Brain Con or anything like that, so I don't know if I want to take this as a Borg. I think we're kind of moving away from swap. I want to try to be a little more aggressive if possible. We picked up that Y Dragon. Here's the Z. The Z will go late. Maybe we just take the beatdown guy here. Yeah, you know what? Let's have some fun. This ended up being kind of a mediocre deck anyway, so... Okay, well, we have a Wing Blast here. We have X-Head Cannon. I'm going for it. There's a lot of it floating around in just this pack, and I really don't see any reason why it wouldn't go late. Okay, Sangin's nice. More discard here. Wheel would be kind of cool. There's this thing. Yeah, Zing's going to be worse than Dust against this. We're going to see what happens. The XY that we currently have access to is the one that targets monsters. So I think we are actually going to need to commit to this and try to get that Z back. We'll just take the Sangin here. It's got a few good targets, including Y and Z. Okay, well we got a Raigeki break here. It's not really up against anything. This Cliff would be nice to have, but I seriously doubt that's going to be last pick when we have Suzuki Samurai, Horus, Drag Down, things that are just really niche. So we're not going to get anything good back out of this, but that is okay. Just take a little more flexible removal here. Okay, so there is another spy, so I'm kind of faced with this crossroad now of do I take this and know that the other one probably won't make it back. If we don't take it, are we taking Soul Exchange or Bottomless, or are we hating another Book of Life? I'm just going to take it. I don't think it's up against anything really, so these are kind of the opportunities you have to just see if you can maybe high roll a situation a little bit. See, like we got this Night Assailant here, so if any of those discard traps still show up, then we're in there. Okay, not really much here unless we just want to take this Mimic. We already have 15 monsters, so at this point I kind of want the monsters to be really good. I think I'm going to hate out the Secret Barrel. We also only have 2 main deck slots left. Oh wow, this trio came back. We don't really need the Acid Trap hole. I'm just going to hate the trio. Alright, so 2 main deck and 2 side deck slots to go. By the way, if you guys ever draft on Untap, don't use the sideboard column. Glitches out. And look at... oh, but it's up against the tank. That's right. Well, that's rough, but I've played with Spy a lot. So let's actually just take this tank and have a little fun. We know Spy's good. Let's try something else. Okay, and we got this wing win back. That's just beautiful. Okay, so the Spy can go to the board now. So we got 1 main deck and 1 side deck slot. Definitely going to hate out that. Oh wow, the Cliff actually came back, which is insane. So I think I'm actually going to start this cipher / kinetic because it goes with the rat, and then we'll get the cliff into the board. So for the rat box, we've got a few things there. We'll go ahead and play the swap. The Night Assailants really only get themselves. That's kind of a bummer. You know, Mobius Tribe, that's fine. Yeah, the Night Assailants get themselves. So a little bit beat down. All in all, it looks pretty terrible, to be honest with you. Our packs were just really, really awkward this draft, so you know, that happens sometimes. I think when that happens, you can try to fight through it. Maybe it pans out. Maybe this will pan out. I don't know. Or you can just, you know, have some fun with it. It's pretty low stakes here. You know, the whole point is to try to get better, but you want to have fun along the way, because if you're not, what's it for? So I've always kind of wanted to play with these guys, and I didn't think I was going to get a better opportunity than this. So we will try this out, and we'll see how it goes, and I'll be back with games. Okay, so here we are in round one, and just like last time, these have already happened. Kind of doing this as like a replay analysis, and just going over how the games went. Just better for the flow of things. So we get to go first, and our hand is pretty cracked. We have Graceful. We have options. We end up throwing out Ceasefire and Night Assailant here. With the hand we have, we're just begging to be aggressive and set the tempo. So that's what I try to do, and I start out with this lady. It's the safest set, more so than this, because, you know, this can clear back and give us an open shot with this, or maybe we draw, you know, something bigger that we want to hit with, like the X-Head or Kaiku or something. Probably not Kaiku, but... So he goes for his DD Warrior Lady, and he decides not to use the effect. He has to choose first as turn player. And I say, okay, Queen's Gambit accepted, and I'm not going to use it either. And the obvious reason for this is the Exiled Force, but he hits us with Dust Shoot. To our dismay, we run across the player that has the other Dust Shoot. There's only 2 in the cube, and we have one of them. So he takes us off this tribe, which I thought was kind of interesting, because I'm definitely not going to tribe there. I definitely want to Exiled on this board. Otherwise, I'm forced to try to trade this in, and then we're just playing into his back row blind. So I probably would have taken Exiled there, but that's okay. He took tribe, Exiled trades in, and DD goes for the poke now. And we just get this Raigeki breakdown. Good flex card. Rota for Zombira. Sure. So I ultimately decide to just let this go because we don't have anything great to discard. We kind of want all of this. Otherwise, we have to discard the Y-head. And monsters are just easier to interact with than backfield. I feel like I can cash this in at a more opportune time. Maybe disrupt one of his plays more so than this. So we're just going to cash this in since we have another beater we can drop, or, you know, we could get something bigger. But we pick up Swap, which is a little awkward here. So we just poke. Breaker comes down, and this is where I decide to go ahead and cash it in. And I decide to throw the Nobleman because I thought about it for a little while, and I decided that the swap just had more of an upside. And if you look at the card count after this, we've got 3, he's got 4. So we're starting to fall behind. He makes that 1-for-1 there, and we pick up a tank, and okay, yeah, we'll poke in. So when we get the cylinders here, I'm kind of thinking maybe I just want to creature swap this, and between the Solemn and the cylinders, we're just going to get them with a big magic cylinders. But I ultimately decide I'm just going to set everything in case this is like a morphing jar. You know, it's round 1, we don't know who has what, so... Luckily, it's just a mimic. He picks up a card, so, you know, he stole a card up on us. And here comes our boy, the Strike Ninja, and he's got a jump. So he played Strike Ninja very well in this entire set. So he's got to jump, and I tell him, okay, you got to use it on this. And he decides to just let it go, which, he's probably thinking, maybe I did that first because I have a Saku, and wouldn't you know it, I actually draw a Saku. So he's going to be happy he saved that jump. So luckily for me, he didn't have a second monster that was big enough to get over the tank. So he opts to just kind of hyper thin, and he gets all of his tomatoes out. It's only 300 life points. Even though his life points are low, I actually agree with that play, because the deck thinning just matters so much. And since he had a new Doria to end on, and he could close this out with the ninja coming back and have a monster when I don't, not to mention all the darks that made it into the yard. So I pick up Singin and I go for the swap, and I'm blown away he doesn't jump. So got kind of lucky there. And here's the Reaper to stonewall me. So I just set the rat. He sets, and I pick up this Knight Assailant, and I don't really want to go for it right away because it's too easy for him to deduce that this is rat. And then the next thing I set is going to be the thing that can actually deal with all of this. So I just kind of want to see what he set, and it ends up being Sangin. So he picks up Exiled, and I'm like, okay, now I've got to play through the Exiled. So I set the X-Head, and it does in fact bait the Exiled. So now I think, okay, coast is clear, let's get this Reaper out of here. And he had a Regeki break all along that he decided to save for this exact moment. So, ouch. So Blade Knight comes crashing in, 2000 over the X-Head. And we draw Dust Shoot, just perfect timing, right on cue, buddy, thanks. So I decide to flip the rat and just go for this. And the Cypher Soldier that was the final inclusion in the deck comes into play pretty big here, and gives me a way to deal some damage in the face of this Reaper wall. But he has a Wing Blast for it, but we have a Solemn, and so we get away with that. And why he didn't jump when I played the swap, I don't know. So game 2, hand is pretty abysmal. We pick up Graceful. We decided to just hold it this time and see if we can eliminate this problem. So he has a Wing Blast, and back it goes. So I just want to set the Saku. I think our best plan against him is going to be, just like last time, try to set the pace. So the Saku is going to help us make sure we don't fall behind. But he has Don Luke. So we're going to have to let this Angel walk. Which ends up not really being a big deal because he doesn't set anything to protect it. Or even represent that he has anything that could protect it. So that tells me he's either on all monsters or he just doesn't bluff a lot. And we'll see if we can do anything with that insight. So we just go ahead and bring the DD down to clear the Angel, and feeling okay about where we are. But then I see the Sangin, and I'm like, okay, he set that up on purpose. He wanted to get the DD out of the way on the Angel so the Sangin would walk. So if that was actually what you were doing there, nicely done, because you played right through me. So he fires off the dust chute, and takes us off of Kaiku. Makes sense. So we're just going to go ahead and graceful. And I elect to throw out the things that he knew about, which weren't really doing that much for me anyway. And just basically get a whole new hand. So we kind of negated what he did with his dust chute a little bit, and we found a beater to get over the Sangan. So he searches up Warrior Lady, and at this point, I haven't seen a whole lot of backfill disruption out of him. And Nobleman plus Solemn, we've kind of got a chance to maybe close the game out here if our next top deck is good. So I want to go ahead and commit and try to push the advantage. Exile comes down and clears. No reason to do anything about that. We pick up our dust chute, pretty sweet. And we fire it off. And we end up putting back the tomato here. And the reason I did this is because I didn't want to put... He's already got one jump with Strike Ninja, if Strike Ninja comes into play, which it could with this Rhoda. So I don't want to let him have too many jumps. If I put back DD, he could always just search DD again, or he could just use this on the strike. But if he has the tomato, he's going to lead out with the tomato here. So I felt like this actually did more damage to us long term. I think either way, we're probably looking at Strike Ninja coming into play at some point in this game. So I decide to just deal with the tomato here. So when he summons this DD, I think about it for a minute, and I decide not to torrential this because I feel like he's 100% going to Rhoda for Strike Ninja next turn. Which, spoiler alert, does come into play. So we have this Zing, and I'm never drafting this card again, and you're about to see why. And remember, we took this over Dust Tornado, and Dust Tornado would have just been so much better. So yeah, he does go for the Strike Ninja. So this is where I torrential and just go ahead and force his jump out of the way. And the torrential will kind of act like a threatening roar in a way. But, this is still a pretty rough spot to be in, and we pick up a huge brick. So I opt to just pass and hope it doesn't get much worse. And here comes a Mimic. So he sniffed out that the position was pretty bad for me. So I pick up Exiled and just get rid of the Strike Ninja. And I decide to set the Nobleman. And my plan here is just hope he doesn't have anything else that he can summon. And we're going to try to get to the end phase, and we're going to zing his backfield, and we're going to zing the Nobleman, because this has to target two things. And then that'll leave our Solemn up. Sounds like a great plan, right? Well, no, not really, because when I use Trap Dust Chute, I notated that he has a Raigeki break, which is what this is. And for some reason, I didn't think about that correctly. So when I go for this play, he's able to use the Raigeki break on the Solemn Judgment. And now my Nobleman is locked down too. So I can't attack because he'll have 3 cards and it's just too easy for him to get over. And he has Zombira, so even if I had put this face up, we're still toast. Ironically, if I had attacked that and Zombira was all he had, we would live at 100, and I didn't check the next card, but it probably wouldn't have mattered too much. This matchup seems to be pretty attrition based and just back and forth. So we go first in game 3, open up absolutely nuts hand, play the pot, and we just go ahead and set this because if we can protect this with Cylinder, we can either exile or Fairy Lily whatever he tried to attack it with. Or if he sets a bunch of stuff, we can just tribute for Mobius. We can use Cylinder to protect it and then tribute for Mobius. So anyway, so I just set both, protect it, and then we will have the option of various lines with Lily, exiled, or tribute for Mobius, depending on what he does here. So he just exiles, which is kind of annoying, but not really a big deal. No reason to do anything crazy. So I thought about this for a while, and I didn't really have to go all in on the Lily here, but since I had the Cylinder with it, and then I also had this to attack monsters, or tribute for this to attack back row, I felt like I just didn't really want to give him too much of a chance to set up here. I don't think he had anything hyper aggressive that we would have to save this to stop, because if he did, he would have just gone for that. So we throw out the weakest card, and we pick up Swap, which is kind of funny. That thing just always seems to find its way to our hand. So we get the damage in, and we force him to Vortex here. So the Reaper comes down, and I think about this for a little while, and I could Cylinder this to protect my hand. But given the way everything had played out here with him, having this removal that we weren't really counting on, the Mobius and the creature swap aren't really doing that many favors for us. So I figure, hey, it's a 1 in 3 for him to hit the exiled. And I decide to just roll the dice. And he hits it. So feeling pretty bad about where we are at this point, but then I draw this and just get completely bailed out. So I throw out Night Assailant and Mobius, and then I just pitch the creature swap away to get rid of the Reaper. I just want to clear this down and get the pressure back on. Now we're a card up, and this is going to deal a significant chunk of damage, I hope. And he goes for Zombira, and this is just the juiciest, most disgusting magic cylinder I've seen in a long time. And unfortunately for him, he has no follow-up, and this tribe just gets to eat. And if you look at his hand here, he had all monsters. So he really only had two options. One option was do what he did with the Zombira, or set one of these cards. And if he sets the 3, and I have another monster, he's only at 900. He's dead for sure. Set Tomato was probably his safe play, and it would have filled the yard up with darks in case he got into Strike Ninja, which he could drop. And yeah, unfortunately for him, he didn't have a whole lot of options there at the end. I think all things considered, the Zombira to attack over the tribe was the best of the lines, because you just want to kind of set the pace. So I feel like we got pretty lucky to win that set, to be honest with you, but we did get there, and we will see what happens in the second and third round. Here's the second match, and we win the RPS again, so pretty good. And this hand is pretty mid. I opt to just go Rat, Ceasefire, Wing Wind, just kind of see what happens. Alright, so he mirrors back, and this guy that we're playing against in this round tends to like to draft burn cards a lot. So I'm kind of going into it with that mindset. So we make the swap. He goes for the Nightmare Wheel, and I'm like, okay, let's just go ahead and cash. He didn't really need to fire this off, because I can't change the battle position of the thing I took just yet, so because of how creature swap works, so he didn't really need to do that preemptively. But he does, so it just kind of incentivized us to go this route, and we get this, and we get a big chunk of damage in with the Fairy Lily. He draws to 4. You know, we've got the ceasefire, we've got the wing blast, so he sets this up, and I decide to just go ahead and see what he's got, cut a flip if it is a flip, and just get some burn damage in. His life points are getting pretty low, and we pick up the cylinder, so that's pretty cool. But I want to just try to push past all of this and put it away right here, and he does not have anything to stop it. On to the next game, we have Pot of Greed, and we're going to hope it doesn't get hit by this duo. He rips Sangan. We throw out the X-Head. It's the most replaceable thing. Double wave motion, so he's clocking us right away. We do have this nice Mobius to answer that. So we just kind of stick to the same plan as last time. Don't really want to give him a lot of time. And we're just kind of hoping he doesn't fire these cannons off, and he doesn't. And we're just going to get them out of the way. Pretty devastating blow. And we run over the bird. So he did have a lot of burn stuff, and it's working out for us here. I don't really want to summon into Torrential or something. So I just attack. It ends up being New Doria. And we're just going to get this rat down. Draw set. He uses break. I guess he was afraid of a flip effect, but that gives us a lot of information. So I decide to just try to poke in with the tank. And we go ahead and set up this thing's in who. Drop the Lily. He goes to Shadow Spell, and we see why. It's Reaper, so he's going to try to wall us out here. There's Zombira. That's going to get over the tank. That's okay. We have the Cypher to turn around and punish it. It's a pretty big chunk of damage. You know, in for a dollar, in for a dime. We just kind of set up here, and maybe this is going to flip and get rid of the Reaper. He sets a backfield. Now we can go for the freeze, and this one he won't be able to chain to. And then now we're able to clear that out, and we get a pretty quick 2-0 over the burn deck. Always feels good, and we'll be back and see how the final match goes. Okay, so here is the third game, and I'm actually playing against Raven's Anger for this one. So we get the Infusion Finals in this draft. He wins the dice roll this time. Shining Angel and 2 backfield. We do have this Zing. We also managed to catch Graceful with double Night Assailant, which is just insane because the Night Assailants are the only flips we have. So we're just going to go ahead and take the free value. And we're going to clear out this Angel. I don't really know what he can get from it, but I don't really want to find out. So we just set everything up. Here's Call. At this point, I'm thinking maybe he's got Swap or he's just looking to tribute, and it is a tribute. But we have a Wing Blast. We're going to pitch Night Assailant, so we'll still be able to get Night Assailant, but he has the 7 tools, so the Mobius is going to live. But we're down a tribe, and we don't really have a great answer to this other than just setting Night Assailant and hoping for the best. And he kind of figures out that's what the deal is. So he attacks with the Mobius first to get more damage through. That's smart. Luckily, he doesn't have anything to follow up there, and we pick up Dust Shoot with him about to draw to 4. So we're just going to pick this Freed off. We've seen Call, so he could have more recursion, and we're just going to get rid of that. And then we're going to see what he's got here. And I thought about this for a while. There were a couple of lines, but basically we have to put back either the Junzo or the Breaker. Nothing else really makes sense. And I tried to kind of look ahead and calculate the lines, and I ultimately decided it was going to be more difficult for him to actually get the Junzo out than the breaker that can just run over this Kaiku for free. So I figured we'll make him work for it, and we put back the breaker. So he goes for this trade, and he goes ahead and deploys the soul. We draw a Y dragon head. Not much we can do, so we just kind of turtle up here. Summons another light. And I opt to just set the DD Warrior Lady. So luckily he swings with the soul first. We get that out of here. But we are going to take some damage. We take out the Bazoo because the Bazoo could end up getting bigger than the X-Head. Now here comes the Genzo. And I've only got one turn to do something about it. And we pick up Pot. And this doesn't really help too much. But luckily he doesn't have anything else. So he hits the rat and we just fish this exiled. And now we pick up a Solemn, which is a pretty insane draw when you're at 100 life points. We get this poke and we set up the Solemn. He goes for return and we have a nice hard counter to that with the Solemn, and we somehow squeak that game out. He's going to be on the play in game 2. Alright, we got a nice nobleman to clean this up, and we're just going to set Sangan. He swings in, and we use this opportunity to pick up DD. Between DD, Tribe, and Exiled, I wanted to go this route to just have a lot of really versatile removal type monsters. He has a lot of beatdown stuff. He has that Genzo, so we need to always make sure we have a way to clear that back out. So we just pick up the Warrior Lady here. And we go ahead and get rid of this Lakuta. I don't expect this game to go long enough for that to possibly be relevant. So we're just going to get the Slate out of here with the Tribe effect and get some damage in. He has a Goblin to come over the top. And we're just going to deploy the Rat here because this is the only thing we have that's going to float a body. If he has something else to go over the top of this, which of course he does, it's only 1400. So we let that happen. We only have one target left in the deck, so we grab the Fairy Lily. He's got a backfield, and we've got some more XYZ stuff here that isn't really panning out, but he doesn't have anything for this, so that just walks through. And we go ahead and set the Y. So he goes for this huge play here. And he opts to pay for the Lily. So I pick up Break, which is a pretty nutty draw. So I'm just going to try to stack some damage onto the Cypher. This makes it where he can't pay for Lily again, and the Snatch still is still giving me value. And we're going to set this Break, and if it walks into his turn, we'll have the opportunity to use the Break on the Snatch Steal to take the Lily back as sort of a big thing that he won't necessarily be able to get around. But we wait the full duration. We're able to wait it out and get another 1,000 off of the Snatch Steal. So then we clean it out and we go for the game, and he just doesn't have anything. So somehow this absolute pile of cards manages to get the 3-0. It just kind of goes to show that you can have all these little synergies in your deck. We've got this Rat to go with the Exiled and the Fairy Lily and the Cypher, and they all kind of do something different in a different situation. But when you're in like this mid-range style, your games have a lot more flexibility to your game plan. And we just kind of got there with this one. So as far as the XYZ stuff goes, I think it's really cool, but I didn't get to summon any of the fusions, so that's a little disappointing. But it is what it is. I wouldn't jump at the chance to play this again, but I'm glad I kind of took the opportunity to play around with it now and kind of see how good it can be. But yeah, so there it is. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments what you thought, and we will catch you on the next one.